Hi everyone, this is Jan, and I'm going to be doing a little watercolory type background here. So I have a large mop brush here, natural hair mop brush, and I'm going to dip that in some water, and I'm just going to take this and go across the top here, and I'm just going to let it drip down. I have a little rag towel down here, and I want the canvas to be coated in the water. Okay, I want it really loose. And I also have some phthalo blue. I have a little yellow ochre and white, and I mixed mostly white, a dab of phthalo and a touch of yellow ochre, and got this turquoise color in my plate. One of the main colors I want is also white, so I'm going to pick up a little water in my brush here. I'm going to come over here to the white. I think I'll pick up a little more water. I want it pretty watery, and I'm just going to start at the top here and drizzle some of this white. I want this to start coming down onto the canvas. If it's not moving, you need more water in here. See how it's starting to drip now? Okay, now let me go into some turquoise. And if it's not dripping, just get a little more water in here so that it starts to drip with you. Okay, let's come down here and drip some. And wherever I want this to drip, I'm just picking up a little more water. And I want it a little heavier, so we'll do that. More water. Let that drip. Let's come over here. I just want it to start dripping in different locations here. And I could pick up a little bit of the yellow ochre. Let's drip a little bit of that in here. That would be interesting. Okay, and I can tilt it forward a little bit. I don't want a lot of color in here. Just enough to give it a background color. Okay, I'm going to paint florals on this. I'm going to dip in a little bit of blue, a little bit deeper blue in here. More water. Let that run down. Okay, until you get a design that you really like. Now, I don't think it's going to do anything if I mix more white because I've already got the white on there. I can just tap it like that, dip in the water and come back, tap, 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 and it'll start running down. But I really like this turquoise color, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to use this turquoise. Okay, just going to be a really light background. Ooh, that's a little dark. Let's see what that does. Maybe we want just a little bit more of the dark here and there. Okay, let's dip in the, start that running. But anyway, that's how you would do some of your runoffs. If I want my corners to be darker, then go ahead and put more paint up in the corner here. Let that run a little bit. Start out light and then come back and deepen your color. That way you won't put too much color on. Okay. There. Just do what you like, okay? I like a little bit more of that blue. I think that blue is pretty. Let me get more blue in here. A little bit deeper blue up there on the top. Now, pick up water. And you might have to play with this a little bit. Just let it run. Works better if I, at least on this canvas, if I just tap it and let it run. There we go. Now we're getting the watercolor lines. And you can turn it around and do it the other direction too. Let's get a few more drops going this direction. I'm going to tilt it just a little bit. Okay. Tilt it going this way a little bit, so that when it dries, you're going to have an interesting pattern up there. Now let that drip. That's a little deeper. Anyway, it's kind of fun to do this. Okay. Do it as much as you want, and then when you're finished, go ahead and clean your mop brush in your water and blot it out. And on your plate here, you can just take a paper towel and wipe your plate. I do have wet paper towels here. These are shop towels here, and they're wet because it's hot here in California. We're in 100-degree weather right now. And that's wet, and then I put my paint on top of that. Every once in a while, take your little squirt bottle and squirt the paper towels again. You can also squirt your palette area here, and I'll take a rag and I'll clean that all up, and I'll have a nice clean palette here. Okay, and that's the colors that I used. Alright, I'll be back when I start doing, when this dries and I start doing the flowers and stuff. I'll go ahead and come back. See you in a few. Hey everyone, we're back again, and we're ready to start doing our second part of this little rose painting. We have our background on. I did deepen this up with a little bit of darker blue. It was pretty light. It was more like this in here. And I went ahead and added more blue to it as it was drying and let it drip down. Now the pattern on here, this is a little, I believe this is 8x8 canvas here. And I have a little pattern here that I sketched out, and you can screenshot that so that you'll have a little pattern. It mostly takes up most of the canvas here. And I sort of tilted it a little bit to where this leaf was in that corner and this one was in that corner. And I had one that's going to hang off down here in this corner here. I didn't put the leaf patterns on. I just did the roses, and I just used graphite. So go ahead and screenshot that, and then we'll go ahead and take this and put it up here. And I used a gray graphite. Now you can see some of the lines there. I'm going to start with this little rose down here in this corner. So I have the canvas turned the way it's supposed to be, but I'm just going to angle it a little bit. I'm going to do the back petals first. I am using Heritage Multimedia paints. This is by Jensen Art. And I have them out here on a palette here, just a styrofoam plate. And I also have wet paper towel. This is shop towels, and I just dipped it in water and squeezed it out and kind of molded it to the plate here. And I have the red violet. I have the quinacridone. What is that one? Violet. That's more of a, this one's more of a pink. This is a yellow ochre. This one is more like a Juneberry or a violet, a red violet. And of course I have a big pile of white here. Okay, and also I have a little squirt bottle. Let's see, I'm using a 10 flat, plus I have a 3/4 inch flat here. I mean, these are all Jann brushes here. I love his brushes. They're more of a natural hair type brush, and they're nice and smooth. They make a good stroke, so I've been using his brushes, and I really like them. They're thinner. They have a good bend to them, so I really like his brushes. Okay, get your little squirt bottle like this. And what I did first was to get my canvas kind of damp, so I'm not on a real dry canvas. I squirted it with a little water, and then I just went ahead and rubbed it a little bit, or patted it with some water just to dampen it. We're in California, so we're having 100-degree weather, and everything's going to dry out really fast. And I do have an extender here that I'm also using, which is the Jann Art extender medium, and I have that in just a little cup right here, so that I can extend my drying time on this. So I just keep it in a little cup right up here. It would be the same thing if you're using folk art paints as a blending gel. Okay, so you can use either one. Now I'm going to start with the back of the petals. And the back of the petals, I want a larger brush, so I'm going to turn this. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 petals back there, larger ones. So I'm going to dip in a little white. Going to dip in some of this quinacridone. I can't say it, but anyway, that's what I'm dipping in. I want these, and I'm going ahead and loading my brush. I'm going to dip in a little bit of yellow ochre, and I'm just going to double load this. Now if I want a little deeper, I can dip into that violet here after I get that, and that'll make that a little bit deeper right there on that button. All right, let's come around here. Let's start these petals here. I'm going to dip in a little bit of the extender right there. And let's see, start with this petal here. And these roses are not going to be an overstroke type rose. It's not going to be that type of a rose. Okay, we're doing a choppy rose, just a chop. See how I'm coming around? I'm still creating that shell, but we're doing a choppy stroke on it rather than a loop like this. Okay, or a little smooth stroke. It's a choppy stroke. I like the choppy stroke. Chop, 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 chop. See, and it comes out uneven. I like that unevenness. I don't like everything to be so perfect in those strokes. Okay, this one runs this way, and this one's actually going to go right off of that canvas. Let's turn this one a little bit more, kind of like that. And see, we have the cup of the rose right here. The top is right there. So we do that. Now I'm going to flip it around. Now here's the bowl, the center. I'm sorry. This would be the front part right here, the little teacup. Okay, now let's go ahead and I'm going to go into a little more white here. Let's get a little more of the violet color, and to start the center of this. I want the center to be the darkest part of this rose here. So we're gonna add a little bit of I want that to be really, really dark. Okay, now as I come back, let's add a little violet, a little white. Now we can start here. Little short choppy strokes. Little short choppy. Okay, come all the way around like that. Now if I want this little area to be a little more to where it looks like it's another little petal, just come on around. Now we are going to come down in here. Okay, I'm going to leave that. Now for this one right here, we're going to come around. I'm going to start lightening this up a little bit. I want the front here to be lighter. So I'm picking up white so that this petal here in the front is going to be a lighter color. Okay. Gonna pick up a little bit of side petal that. Okay, and let's see, let's come on around here. So it looks like that's going to end right there. There we go. So that looks like we have a little bowl there. Okay, let's come back up here. I want more white. Let's come back up here. I'm going to lose the shape of that. There. Now let's, hang on just a minute. I want a little deeper color. Okay, here. Maybe there's another petal right here. We can create petals as we're going around this. I'm leaning more towards the front here. And I want it to look like there's another petal that's going to swoop on around here. Let's drop down, leaning towards the front here. Maybe there's another petal that'll go right in there. It'll be right there. I think I might have to switch to a smaller brush for this one. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to pick up, this one is the number 10. And for this little petal here, so you want your brush to be about the width of the petal, whatever petal you want. Here, I'm just going to bring that in, this one. And you can just kind of work with this. Let that one swoop up too. Okay. Now let's go back to the center. Let's go ahead and do some little petals. Wipe my brush. I want some of the dark in there. Okay, let's get a little yellow ochre. I want some little petals in here. Oops, more. Right in here. Sneak those in. leave this dark. Leave your center dark, okay? But you can sneak in. I'm working off the front part, and you can sneak in some little bitty petals like that. Okay, just keep it really dark right here near the front. Okay. Now, if you need any other side petals, go ahead and go back to your big brush. And you can sneak in some side petals too. Maybe along here, so that you can make it kind of fluffy down here, so you don't have, make it white again. And these are mostly just little edgings of white that are going in here. See how you can just cut in some little edgings coming in here? Let's come up a little bit on that. Okay, so that we don't. There we go, I like that a lot better. And then we have the center. So just bring some of those petals down. You still have the back ones, but you can just bring some of these down over the back. Let's run one right off here. Okay, you can play around with this any way you want to. Just make it real fluffy, okay? Don't get all wrapped up in doing it a perfect little petal. Okay, just keep it loose. And if you work with a bigger brush, that helps. You know, see, we kind of lost our dark right in here. I want that dark in there. Okay, everybody, that's this little rose up here. Now, while it's still wet, I am going to get some blue. So let's get a little bit of baby blue in this. And I'm just going to put some phthalo blue right out here. And we're going to make a little bit of white. Let's do white. A little bit of that blue. And you just want to tint the cool sides. You know, if you're, let's see, better decide which way my pattern's going to go. So if my rose is down here, decide if you want, I'm going to do this my light area because that's where it is. So this would be your warm colors, and over here would be your cool color. Okay, so let's pick up a little bit more of a cool color over on this side. Okay, that's going to be your cool side. And we can have a little bit over here and a little bit over here. So on your cool sides, you want a blue color for the shadow side, and for your warm tones, you are going to want your yellow ochre. So I'll wipe my brush off. I'll pick up a little yellow ochre, a little bit of the darker color, a little bit of white. Okay, and we will go ahead and do some warm tones. See here, this one is a warm tone now. Okay, we don't want a whole lot of that. Let's go back up here. this side will have a little bit of warmth to it, okay? Instead of so much of the white. Have more warm tones. Oops. Okay, everyone. I would just go ahead and put your little dots in here for your center, like that. And let's do some little yellow ochre dots, like that. And pick up a little bit of the cool side here. Got a little bit of blue over here. Over here, let's put a little bit of that blue. Okay, everybody. And that's what I would do for your roses. Okay, let's turn this up so that you can see it this way. Okay, now that's how I would do a rose that is just kind of off the canvas there. Just a rose that is really, really loose. Now I'll go ahead and finish these roses here, and when we come back we can go ahead and start on some greenery. Okay, work on your little loose rose. Alright, I'll be back in a few. Okay, we're back, and we are going to do some simple leaves here, and I am using the number 10 flat. And I got out some pine green and some burnt sienna. If you're using folk art, you would get some thicket and some burnt sienna. And I mixed these two colors for a sap green right here. Now, one thing about the Jensen colors is if you spray a little bit of water on your palette, and these have been sitting for probably an hour, it will reactivate your paints for you. So these are all reactivated here, and I can just dabble in them however I want to. And I like that about it because it's almost like a watercolor. But that's how you're going to get some sap green right here. Now what I want to do, set that right here. What I want to do is go ahead and put some color right in here. And I'm going to walk this color out. Okay, I want it really dark in here because this dark, the flowers are in there. The bottom flowers are in there. And I want it dark over in here. Okay, now wipe my brush off on a paper towel. And I am just going to take a little extender right here. And I'm just going to walk this color out a little bit. I'm just going to let my brush walk out a little bit of this color before we add our leaves. And I can use my finger, probably better to use my finger, and walk out a little bit of color here. I'm just going to dab my finger in a little extender here. And I'm just going to walk some of this color out like that. Okay? Like that. I just want color. Just want some color on here. So it doesn't look like it's pasted on there. Okay, grab a little more extender. If you're working with folk art colors, just pick up a little floating medium. See, and I can pick up some of that color because it's wet. See how I'm dabbing? I can come up here and I can add a little backdrop for these leaves that I'm going to put in. Okay, and the same down here. Just want some color. Okay, and then I'm going to deepen this. I want this down here. I want that a dark green down here because that's the end. Okay, let's go ahead and make this a little deeper. And the same here because I took some of that color out. Okay, now just going to blot my finger off. I'm going to come back. Now I'm going to use some of this pink that's in here. I've got some pink in here. Now you can do your leaves any way that you want to do your leaves. I like to do just the up and back leaf. So I am just mixing a little bit of the green with a little bit of umber. And I might come over here and pick up a little bit of the pink color. That's going to turn gray on me. Alright, now for our leaves, I'm going to come up here and we're just going to go up and we're going to come back. Okay, now if I want that lighter and I want this one darker, it's almost like a double load there. Right, let's get here. For this one, we're going to go up and come back. I'm trying to do these in a variation of color, picking up some pinks. I'm picking up the yellow ochre. Okay, up, back, so that I have different shades of greens and pinks, and I'm just working off this plate here. Okay, let's do another one. Up. Well, let's catch that right there. Back. Now let's go ahead and get a little more green on that edge. Let's go in a little more white. Now let's go over here. And we will do some leaves coming off this. I want to keep the leaves just really simple, real basic. Up and back. I like these up and back leaves because they're simple to do and they look fine. You don't have to spend a lot of time doing all kinds of ruffles on your leaves and trying to do this and that with them. Just do them real basic. They're gonna look fine. Okay, now let's go ahead and do, we want some definitely down here. Up. Now these, let's just do a little flat leaf like that. Let's bring one up here. These are just your regular stroke leaf. And we can add a little bit of stroke leaves in here. And like that. Don't get too fussy with them. Just put them in. Little doodahs of color. And add some over the leaves. Add some over the petals. Let's go into more green. I want some pink here, so I'm going to dabble in a little pink. Maybe we want a little pink rosebud here, huh? Let's see if we can get some little pink rosebuds in here. Yeah, that will work. Grab some of this pink here. So let's work some little pink blooms in here. Let's come over here, do a little pink blooms over here, and I'm just working off my plate here. Everything is reactivated on my plate, so that's great. Now let's go back over here. Let's add a little pink over here. Yeah, we're just not going to get fussy with this. I'll put a little blue in that too. Got a little blue coming off of there. A little blue up here. The main thing to remember is to intermingle your colors. This one, it goes this way. Intermingle your colors. If you've got blues and ochres on your roses, put those in your leaves also, okay? So that everything intermingles. As you're painting it. Let's flop that off. Maybe we just want that to go off. Intermingle a few little colors down here. Now you can see through the intermingling, you can kind of lose your leaves. If you do that, if you want to come back and reinstate your leaves, you can do that. Let's say I want to reinstate this little leaf here. Just come back and reinstate it. There we go. So that you have some that are going to pop out here and there. Because you can lose these leaves in the midst of everything, you know. And let's bring this one back. Okay, and I'm just using some yellow ochre. Let's come around. Let's reinstate that one. A little ochre white and some of the sap green or pine green. Now where else can we reinstate that? Let's take a look at this. I would do one down here. Just reinstate this one down here so that that one shows up. In other words, I'm pulling some of these leaves forward, okay, that we lost. Let's pull a leaf down out there. So, you know, if you lose your leaves, just come back, do your little leaves that you're doing all around. If you lose them, come back and go ahead and re-enter them again. Now just paint them back in again. See, that one there. Right. Just so we have a few light areas in here. Now I'm going to come back and re-highlight some of these areas in the bud here. Right there. Light. Let's come over here. And I'm going to reinstate the dark in the centers. Because when it dries, it will dry lighter. So we're going to reinstate that center right there. Okay, it always looks darker when you first put it on, but then it's gonna dry lighter. Let's reinstate some right here. Okay, and add a few little buds there. Oops. Alright, a few little buds. There we go. A few little doodads in the center of those. Okay, now I like that. Need to, I've got a kind of a blob right here. I just want to take care of that little blob right there. Okay. Now that's about all we can add as far as leaves on this little bitty canvas because it's so small. And the only other thing that you might want to do is come back with a little bit of white, and I'm just single loading this. And if you want little stronger edges on this front here, then just single load that, like my lights coming up here, and go ahead and reestablish these light colors that you have here, the whites especially, because those will fade down, and the lights right here, so you're going to have these edges. I'm just going to reinstate some of those edges there, and we will be finished. Because we have the cools, we have some warms, we have some cools down here, we have some warms up here, and we reestablished some of the color here. Okay, that really light right here. Okay, and really warm down here. Yep, warm on this side over here, and we could do a little bit of cool over on this side. And I have mostly warms down here and cools on the other side. So just establish your warm tones and your cool tones, and make your roses real fluffy. Okay, everyone, we are finished with this. Thank you so much for joining me for this little painting. This little painting will be on my eBay channel. It will be for sale, and I will put a little link underneath it if anyone is interested in purchasing this little painting. Just click on the link and it'll take you right to it, and you can purchase this. And then here's the palette that we used for this. All these colors are still wet because I reinstated them with some a little bottle of water there, so I can go back and I can go ahead and use this again. So anyway, give this a try and do your little roses just real fluffy. Okay, thank you so much. Make sure you hit the like button, please, because that lets YouTube know that you like this channel, and it will be a lot better for me to continue on with little paintings like this for you. That way I know you're interested and you want me to continue doing this. Okay, thanks again. Bye for now, and I'll see you next time.